Alright, in the last video we got to where our throwing knives became still. We let that go for 1 second. So now at that point let's go ahead and put in our next chapter title. So I'll extend this with an F6, go back here, and just to make my life easier I'll copy this. So I'll do it edit, copy. And because there was nothing there, my F6 was the same as doing an F7. Let's move this out just one more frame to where there's nothing there. And then we'll do an edit, paste in place. I've already copied the next topic in here in my clipboard. So if I get in here, swipe across, do a Command V. Well, maybe I didn't copy it. So let me go back to the project page and copy it. And now a Command V, and then get in here, remove the space, hit return. Okay, so that's the last time I'll show you that. But what you want to make sure you do for each of these is extend them out for 1.5 seconds. So since there's 1 second, somewhere right in the middle-ish there, I'll do my F6, I'll do my F7 so it doesn't show up anymore after that. A lot of students tell me that for them the hardest part of working in an animation program like this is when you get something done that's nice and then you're about to add on more, there's a fear that maybe you're going to mess up with what's already been done before. So there's a couple reasons why you don't have to worry about that. One is do indeed make a lot of backup files and save often. But also you can experiment in a new file first, and if it works you can literally copy and paste everything from the new file into the old one, and I'm going to show you exactly that in a second. But let's fill out the answer to some quiz questions first. Digital animators often work out parts of their animation in a file other than their main production files, which is what we're about to do. These test animations can either be used for experimenting or copied and pasted into the main file. The important thing is to develop a system of fearlessly experimenting and not worrying about messing up your main production files. We're going to make a copy of this and a backup copy of this, and then we're going to open up a brand new file. And all we're going to do is just make sure that we set the stage size and even the stage color just to make it seem really normal, the exact same way as this one, but we're just going to start right at the beginning of that new document. So here's my brand new file with all the same properties as the other one for the stage. So I'm now working with multiple files. I'm going to name this one easing just so I don't get it mixed up with the other files. And then I'm just going to show you real quick what we're about to do here. And that is the properties of easing. So when something takes off, it takes it a while to build up speed. And when it slows down, it takes it a while to slow down. So even if you have a super high performance sports car, you don't just put your foot down on the gas and be going 65 miles per hour instantly. And the same thing when you slam on the brakes. You don't just stop immediately, otherwise you'd probably fly through the windshield. First thing that happened was some text came in here, and you can copy and paste that, and we want that to be about 70 points, Helvetica or Arial, and right about in the middle this way. And then we're going to design our little sports car. You can make your little car with the pen tool if you like. I'm going to show you a quick, down, dirty, easy way to make it with shapes. You can put more effort and work if you want to into things like the throwing swords or the cars, but my recommendation is usually this on these warm-up projects. Be aware of getting carried away and not completing the task at hand. So my suggestion is to put your best and most creative efforts where it counts, which is the final project and the storyboard that leads up to the final project and the storyboard set to sound for the final project. Just drew out some basic shapes here. with either the rectangle tool or the oval tool, made sure that I wasn't in the drawing mode, that I was in the actual merge mode, in other words, where there are actual shapes, and you can tell that when you click over here on tool. You do not want this to look like that. You want it to be basically off. Okay, so then what I'll do is I'll take and just grab these pieces and put them together, and we know that in the merge mode that if you put something there and then you move it, it creates a blank. So that's how I made my window, and then I'll make some cutouts for my wheels by moving this stuff away. And then I'll actually use that for my wheel. And then hold down the Option key, click and drag to make a copy of that. Get rid of that. And I guess I got more of a truck this time. Okay, so number one step whenever you're about to animate is, of course, to select that, do your F8, and turn it into a symbol. And of course, it's going to be a graphic at first. We'll learn about buttons and movie clips a little bit later on. I'll double click on my hand tool just to make sure I'm seeing the whole entire stage. Move the car over a little bit, and let's wait to move that until 1 second goes by, and then we'll try it out across a second and see how that looks. So I want this first motion to be like the truck is starting from a dead stop and taking off. So it makes sense to start it from here and then for it to end off stage, so we get the feeling like it just zoomed away from us. So when I put my classic tween in here, and if I back up and I just play it inside the program, we get the sense that it immediately started and it's not that realistic. So what we want to use here is a property called easing. So you just click anywhere between your first and last keyframes of your tween. You go to you want to be inside of properties and on frame, and you want the ease set where it says properties together, and then you're going to go to where it says effect, and just go ahead and set that at classic ease as opposed to one of these other ones. Just know there's some pretty interesting options in here, and you may want to explore them on your own, but we'll just keep it simple for now. So we'll set this up to classic ease. I'll double click on that to make it take, and then you just go over to here, and you can either drag all the way back for a classic ease in, or all the way forward, running out of real estate, for a classic ease out. So let's start with the ease in, and let me just back this up and play it again. And so it's a little bit probably jerky here, but the idea is that the motion starts out a little bit slower and then you get faster and faster, and you did that without having to do a whole bunch of frame by frame animation. We'll give ourselves a couple more keyframes. So I'll do an F6 here, and now I want to show the truck easing out. So I'll move it back over here, and then about a second later, I'll F6, and I'll move it so that it has to come to an emergency stop. It's running out of room. So again, we'll put in our classic tween, click somewhere between the start and the end, properties together, classic ease, and this time we'll do the ease out. And so that what'll happen is this thing will come flying in, has to put on the brakes, and it goes slower towards the end of its motion. And for this project, just to make it easier for me to grade and for you to understand what's going on, do set these to 100 and -100. But know that when you're working on your final project, if you need an ease, that's not the only option. You can go anywhere from 0 to 100 and 0 to -100. And then, like I said, feel free to experiment with all the other different ease effects that are here. All right, let's deal with our text here. So this is supposed to say ease in till we get here. So we'll do an F6. We'll go in. This is not even worth a copy and a paste. So we'll get in here with the text tool and we'll just change the word in to out after unlocking it, of course. And carry that out with an F5 because there's no more after that. And now the beauty of this is we've done our test animation, if you will, and it looks like everything checked out fine. So now we can grab this whole entire thing and bring it into our other animation. So let's do just that. And the way you do that is you click on the very first frame that you want and you shift click on the very last frame. So I'm going to go to the top left, click. I'm going to go to the bottom right, hold down the shift key and click. Then I'm going to right click inside of here and I'm going to select copy frames. And notice that that is not a Command C, it's an additional key if you want to do the shortcut. But it is quite different. It's not just copying the contents of one frame, it's copying everything. So now we're going to go into our working project and we are going to use new layers to put this on. And I'll show you a little trick here in a second for keeping the layers a little more organized. But what we want to do here is we'll go up near the top, we'll click plus to give us a new layer, and right at the layer where we want that to show, we will do our F7, and then we will right click inside of the F7 that we just did and we will select paste frames. Now they went exactly where we want them to, and so you might be thinking, well, holy cow, I've got a lot of layers here. Is there a way to clean this up? And the answer is yes. So we're going to go right above here, right underneath our new ones, and we're going to go to this icon here for new folder, and we'll name this guide, since that's the first thing that we did. Then what we're going to do is, I'm going to hit enter to make that stay, and then we're going to grab everything that was part of the guide, so everything down here other than the word or the layer chapters, and we're just going to click and drag, and you can see that little icon that shows there. That lets me know that everything's tucking up inside of this folder called guide. And now if I click this little caret off, the whole thing goes away. So I'll do the same thing again for easing, which was just the car and the text, but still, if we can save a little bit of real estate here, we may as well do it. So looking a lot cleaner now. Great time to test and save and make backup copies. And the only thing that's missing here for me, other than the fade in, is in the demo I had the little blinking lights on the car. So let's take care of that. I want you to notice as well, in the library we only have, after all of that, just the knife and the truck. And the truck came in automatically for us when we pasted the layers in from our test animation. So if we go into the edit mode for the truck, so in other words, we click on the library, we double click on the truck, this shows us now we're inside of that symbol. The symbol has its own timeline, right? So this symbol right here, or yeah, inside this symbol is just like being back on the main stage where we could add more layers to it. We can do things on the timeline, and that's exactly what I want to try here. I'm going to make a new layer here. I'll call it lights. And then on this layer, I'm just going to take the old classic pen tool, or classic brush tool, And let's go into properties and let's change the fill so that it's just yellow. And then experimenting with the left and right bracket keys. Get that just big enough so that it looks like we're projecting a light from the front of the car. So now, if we go to, I'm going to go to about frame 5, and I'm going to do a F6, and then on that new frame, I'm just going to select these and delete them. Then I'm going to go across here about frame 12, do a F5. So now what I have is the lights last for about 4 or 5 frames, and then the lights disappear once we get to this blank keyframe. And now, if we go out to the main timeline, so one way to get back there is to go up to these carrots and just click back. And now if we go to our vehicle, we can see that as we scrub the playhead, those lights turn on and off. And so the reason for that is inside of this symbol, this plays just like an animation. It keeps going. It circles around just like your first project, the frame by frame did. So when we have room for that to occur, it will just keep doing that over and over. And since this whole area, right here, let me fly this open. From here, there's a symbol of our vehicle, and continuing on, a symbol of that vehicle. And so for this, throughout this whole thing, those lights are just going to continue to blink on and off because that space is available for that to happen. And in anticipation for the next part, let's go ahead and extend a couple things out here. So go about a second later, do our F5, and then I want to just adjust one thing. I'd like to be able to see the headlights during that last second, so I'll go right like that. And let's take care of 2 more quiz questions. An object that moves from a complete stop, like an accelerating automobile, will ease into its motion. And a moving object that comes to a stop, like a braking automobile, will ease out of its motion.